Hey, John Hickok here. So on this show, we're going to have Jon Patton on from the Gun Collective. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and not just listening to the audio on iTunes, you're seeing his YouTube channel right now. Great dude. He's been doing this. He's had a YouTube channel for a long time, but recently started up this Gun Collective thing, which is a really neat show, really cool way to get some information about what's going on in the firearms industry, and it's entertaining and it's quick and bam, you learn a bunch of stuff really fast. It's really cool. So I'm excited to have him on. You guys are going to see that in just a little bit. I also wanted to just remind you guys how much I appreciate Federal Premium. They do a lot for us. So we really appreciate Federal, just hooking us up with ammo and taking care of us. Just can't appreciate them enough. They've really come through for us. Also, the Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI, check them out, sdi.edu. Again, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can see the website. It's funny, earlier I saw Zeke's face on here. I don't see it right now. But yeah, so I think we got a pretty good show, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Still trying to, get everything sorted out with this new setup. Hopefully you guys won't have to hear me say that for too much longer. There's Zeke right there. There he is. See his face. But we had every episode so far has had some kind of issue. On the last one that I did with Brad Edwards, Gary Fletcher, his microphone wasn't on. He was back there doing an amazing job running the video switcher and everything. Couldn't hear him. He's had some pretty funny things, and I hate that you guys missed that. So I'll get him on again soon. Brad Edwards was a little bit louder than me, but I hope you guys enjoyed that podcast. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check it out. We had a pretty cool gun rights discussion, I thought, especially considering he's not necessarily a supporter of gun rights, of course, and I obviously am. So that was kind of an interesting discussion, at least to me. But yeah, so we had little issues, here and there. I'm hoping that those are going to get worked out very soon. But yeah, I think it was a good show. The issue we had this time was that I didn't hit record. So that one was all on me. So when the show starts, which you're going to see here in just a second, it kind of started mid-conversation. We were kind of talking about new media versus old media. You can kind of gather what we were talking about as it goes on, but it wasn't very far into the episodes. You didn't miss a whole lot. If you didn't watch the whole thing, you might not miss much either, but it was a lot of fun. John's a great guy. Enjoyed talking to him, and we'll probably have him on again at some point. But anyways, I'll talk too long. Let's get to the show.
Watching people try and adapt is very interesting from my perspective, and I'm sure yours, because we see it. We live and breathe the new version of what we do, right? So watching somebody try and figure it out without asking or without trying to get help, and seeing where they land, it's oftentimes hilarious. Because they try to adapt this old methodology into the new media, and it just fails miserably. Because people can see through when a guy is being 100% paid to say what he's saying. Right,
because it's a totally different universe.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's a lot more transparent, and people don't realize that at all. You have to be a lot more upfront with people, because especially
and the audience loves that.
Yeah, they do. Well, that's the thing. It's not a handicap. I mean, it's like a benefit of it. It makes things easier. This damn microphone. There we go.
That thing does not want to cooperate.
It does not. This stand was like, I'll tell you, man, I went on Amazon. I was like, I need a really good one of these. And like the most expensive one I could find was like $12.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, it's but it's nice because like we were talking about earlier with the editing and stuff. It's kind of like, at least with my personality, I like to be able to, if I'm trying too hard to like hide my imperfections, it just like, I fall apart. I like to be able to just like, all right, this is what I am. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm saying. Take it or leave it. But at least I'm not trying to deceive you. People can't be mad about that, at least.
Absolutely, man. And we can definitely agree that no matter what, the integrity of what you're putting out and yourself and your message is what matters more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you lose that and you lose everything. You have nothing at that point.
Right. Well, like on your show, it's like the opposite idea, but I feel like the same thing kind of shines through. You know what I mean? When people watch your show, they know they're seeing, like, they know they're seeing you and what you really think, you know, and there's something cool about that.
Yeah. I mean, we share a very similar core value structure, right? We understand that the things that are being said and presented are the best version of ourselves and what we can do. You know what I mean? Like, that's the core of us. What we're saying is us, you know, and I think that's where, you know, our approach to get to that end result is very different. You know, you guys have a very raw feel to it, and you know, I do a ton of editing, but at the same time, we're following that. We both believe that what we're saying to our audience actually matters, and we will not be bought. And I think that's really interesting, and I love it, man. I love that that's even possible.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
For us to take two different paths and still have that same value.
Right, and before the internet, it wasn't really possible, because if you wanted to be on TV or something, hit like some big mainstream audience, you had to be bought. That was the only way you could even afford to do it. You know, you had to go through these gatekeepers, you know, and you still see that a lot in Hollywood, like being hanging around comedians and stuff. Now that I'm doing comedy, like getting to talk to guys who've been doing it for like a really long time. You know, it's kind of sad, you know, when you hear them talk about what Hollywood is really like, you know, and there's so many levels of gatekeepers in Hollywood, people who they screen things, you know, like if you have certain opinions or certain, you know, ways of doing things, like you're going to get screened out, you know, and it's weird, man. And I'm so glad that the internet is like this big, just, you know, path around all that stuff, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, now, you know, the way we're again, this is kind of that around the fire chat that I was having. The big guys are no longer in control of the message, and that scares the crap out of them.
Right.
You know, it absolutely scares them, because they can't control the message anymore from guys like us. You know, in yesteryear, that was absolutely the way it was done.
Yeah. But
now we don't need them to reach the audience. We don't necessarily need every company out there and all that sort of stuff to reach the audience. I mean, you guys had a huge audience, I'm sure, before companies really started pounding down the door trying to work with you. And it's like, wait, well, what? You guys don't get to tell us what to say. That's not how this works.
Right.
That's not how we got to where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's not a smart marketing decision. Like if some big company decided, like, we're going to pay you guys a bunch of money, you know, to say nothing but good things about our product. Well, people would find out, and then it would basically, it would eliminate us. We would no longer be in business. No one would watch us anymore. And they wouldn't have anything, wouldn't be marketable to them. Like, we wouldn't be able to market their product because no one would believe us, you know? So it's like
exactly. It's
even if you wanted to, it doesn't work. You know, that's the thing. You know, but
yeah, I think the entirety of new media and YouTube and video and Instagram and Facebook and all of these things, you know, giving people a voice that otherwise may not have had one. I think that has changed the landscape of humankind. You know, on a grand scale.
Yeah.
People that never would have been able to say things are now going viral and making careers out of this kind of stuff.
Right.
And, you know, the fact that guys like you and I are literally able to do things like this for a living.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's incredible in every way.
It feels it's good and bad in a way. It feels like it's great, but it's like I just know it's all going to come crashing down. I'm just going to wake up one morning, YouTube is just going to be gone. You know, it's just going to.
That almost happened to you guys a little bit ago, right?
Oh man, yeah. I woke up and I had a text message and I checked it, and Dad was like, "Well, you know, basically our worst fears have been realized." You know, and told me just kind of in a nutshell in a paragraph what had happened. And I was just like, I don't accept this, and I went back to sleep. This can't be real.
This is not real.
And I went back to sleep for like, I don't know, about an hour or so, something like that. And I woke up and I was like, damn it, this is really happening. So I called him, and then we talked about it. And yeah, that was terrible. We don't have to rehash all that, but it was not fun.
You know what was really special, outside looking in, what was really special about that was how the audience reacted. And I don't think anybody, including YouTube, was ready for that. Yeah. I don't think they were ready for the onslaught of support that you guys had, because yeah,
I couldn't believe that. That just blew me away.
Well, not everybody is always vocal when they watch a video or participate in an audience, right? Like, I watch some of your videos, right? But I don't always leave a comment.
Right, yeah, same here.
And there's way more people that are like that than there are that actually, engage all the time. So that being said, all of those people were like, you are not taking this away from us. This is not going to be the way it goes down. And I thought that was incredible to see how the community reacted and how quickly they reacted.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was the one silver lining, of that whole thing. I remember going to YouTube's homepage Facebook, YouTube's Facebook page, and it was like all these comments, bring back Hickok 45 and all this stuff. It was like, wow, they have to be, seeing this.
Oh, they saw it.
Yeah, they were aware of it. Saw it. Yeah, because I mean, we finally got in contact with someone. I don't know if we would have without that. And one of the things that people kind of said, I don't know if it was negative against us or whatever. They were like, "Oh yeah, of course Hickok 45, has a way to contact somebody, but if they took down my channel, I wouldn't have a voice." And that kind of makes me feel bad too, in a way. I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. How it goes moving forward. But man, I hope that they leave gun channels alone, big, small, medium, whatever. I really hope that this isn't something that anyone has to go through.
Well, it was interesting because not that long after that, I had somebody, and I don't know if this was the practice leading up to this, because my old channel was not nearly as successful as my current one is, so I never got into the community side of things with YouTube/Google. So I got an email from a guy at YouTube not that long ago, and he's like, "Hey, I just want to talk about, I'm reaching out to talk strategy and, how we can help you." And I'm like, this is exactly what should have been done years ago.
And they finally started doing that, yeah.
Well, I had a video that, it was a questionable upload to YouTube because YouTube has very strict policies about blood and guts. And the video happened to be the kind of autopsy/dissection of an animal that I had shot on a hunt, right? So we were kind of analyzing what was happening inside the animal with the projectiles. So that being said, it was a little bit risky to put on YouTube. So before I did that, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, what do you think?" The fact that I have that now, that ability to contact somebody, that's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
Because, years ago, YouTube would have been like, "Yeah, whatever, dude," and you never see a response.
Yeah, and there's no avenue whatsoever to try to contact somebody unless you're like one of those 10 million subscriber channels. Forget about it.
Right. Because I think what they're doing now is realizing that there is value in communities like ours, however big, small, whatever. I think they're understanding that Facebook has taken a big chunk out of their viewership, and they are they have to treat guys that are creators and good creators. They have to treat them well and with a little bit of respect in order to continue to foster the growth.
Right, and that's something Dad's been paranoid about for a long time, is this idea of YouTube, taking down gun channels and all this kind of stuff. I've always been a little more optimistic about it, and I felt like maybe disabling monetization, that's kind of very within the realm of possibility. But as far as actually just saying like no videos with guns can be on YouTube, I feel like that would be such a dramatic move. I think they'd have a really hard time with that. Because where do you draw that line?
It's an attack on American values at that point.
Right. They're legal. You know what I mean? There's like a show. I use this example all the time. I don't have a problem with it. It's a funny show. It's called Doug with Hires. It's like Doug Benson, the comedian, and he's in Colorado. Yeah, he's in Colorado. He takes other comedians and they all sit around and smoke weed. Right. It's legal in Colorado, but it's still federally illegal. It's against the law by federal government. Schedule I drug. Right. That's fine. You know, that's not ever under fire, you know, but guns, right? Like totally legal, but yet, you know, there's all this controversy about it, you know. So I don't know. I still don't feel like YouTube would make that bold of a move, but I don't know.
I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. If it does,
right.
You know, I'm on the same page with you. I don't think it's going to happen, especially not now. You know, I think had the election results been different, we may have seen something like that get pushed.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're that stupid. It would be detrimental to their business because basically, if you take a big community, if you take a chunk out of YouTube, they lose tons of revenue. Right. And then they get attacked for doing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, look what happened just when we got shut down. What if it was everybody? What if every gun channel got shut down? I mean, they wouldn't be able to operate. I mean, they would. That was a lie. But, you know, it would be hard,
It would be a huge thorn in their side for a long time.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I'll see your Hillary for prison back there.
That's right. That's right.
I wonder if he's going to pursue that, you think? Or he's just going to... I've heard a lot of people say he's just going to... That was like a thing to get elected, sort of, and he's going to just kind of let that ride, probably.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say with him. You know, I think we all kind of let out a sigh of relief on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, the Wednesday after. Yeah. Everybody went, whew, all right, we're good.
And a little surprised. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen.
He had this 100-day plan or whatever that included a lot of really positive things for firearms owners. You know, nationwide carry and taking things to a level that everybody kind of believed was, you know, a dream, a pipe dream even.
Right.
And I would like to think that he will follow through, but I'm always a skeptic. I mean, that's kind of what I do for a living anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but
and the thing is, Trump was
there.
Yeah, Trump was never like overly pro-gun before he decided to run for election. You know, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I do think it's definitely the best time to try to get anything through. You know, gun-wise right now, for sure. Especially these first couple of years, like with this NFA stuff. Man, I'm really hoping some of that comes through.
Well, we just put out, what's today? It was Wednesday. This past Wednesday, we put out an episode of The Legal Brief, and it was talking about the Hearing Protection Act, and Adam goes into how long it will actually take to get something like that introduced and actually signed. Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantee because I think it was 2015. I think it was the 109th Congress. There was over 10,000 bills introduced, and only... I think 4% of them were actually signed into law.
Oh wow!
So it is an uphill battle.
Yeah,
you know, it is important for us to say, guys, we need to remain steadfast. This is not something that we can just let it go. Right? The fight is not over. The fight has just changed.
Right. Exactly. Well, and the thing too with the suppressor thing, I mean, once that hits the news, if that actually gained enough traction where it was hitting the mainstream news a lot. I mean, just think about how your average person is going to look at that. Like, why do you need a silencer? What are you going to, go around assassinating people or something? You know, why would you need that?
Right.
You know, and it's like, how do you?
That's something we can do with education. You know, you guys have done a great job of that, educating the guys that are maybe kind of just dabbling in firearms.
Yeah.
You know, you guys reach a much, much larger audience than so many other channels, and kind of watching the education. Your dad having a background in that I think that's done a lot for education of firearms in general.
Yeah, I like to think so.
That's
that's
what we as a community need to do.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes. You know, we get it's funny too. Even just making people aware that there are normal people that own things like suppressors and machine guns, and short-barreled rifles. Even just that simple thing, does something. Because we get comments constantly, hundreds every day on those videos that we have of suppressors and full autos. Like, how do you own this? You can own these? I thought these were illegal. That whole thing.
It still happens, really, like every day.
Oh, all the time, constantly. Yeah, constantly.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man, speaking of that, I had this old video where I was shooting it was like some kind of AR build. SMI, I think, built it with a SIG brace on it, and it was before that letter was issued. Right, so I'm shouldering it, right, because that's back when that was fine. Oh my God! Every day, someone comments like, that's illegal. You could go to jail for that and all this stuff. It's just like, oh man, just check the date of the video, man. Come on.
Good old ATF.
Yeah, really. I know. I got
the
my
rules don't matter.
Got my ATF shirt on today.
Yeah, that shirt is perfect.
It's funny. I bought it a while ago and I lost it and I found it recently. Oh yeah, the ATF.
Did you like celebrate a little bit? Oh yeah, it's a shirt again.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh man, I've been meaning to wear this like every day. Oh man, it was so awkward that the ATF was at SHOT Show. Like, remember what was it? A couple years ago when they released that letter about the SIG brace, and then the ATF is there, and I mean they're there every time, but still. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Do you remember? I don't know if you would remember this. There was a guy, Dugan Ashley.
Yeah.
His channel is Carnicon. He walked around with SIG braces taped to his shoulders.
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah,
they got something else.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
It kills me he doesn't put out videos anymore.
Yeah, I think he had some health issues.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so he kind of backed off, and I respect him. It was tough for him because he was so different. Yeah, I think he was kind of quote unquote ahead of his time.
Right,
there's really good production value and the
really smart,
really subtly funny. Yeah, like just it's a totally different approach, and he was so far ahead of the curve. Yeah, that I think it kind of hurt him as far as how companies would work with him and treat him.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's all speculation.
I mean, you think about it, that's a pretty tough niche to get into. Like, I don't know what you would call that kind of. It's like sketch comedy, sort of, but not really.
Yeah,
but
kind
of. Weird. So I don't know what category you put it in, but it was really funny. But since it's about guns, it's like, how do you hit a mainstream market with that? It's great for people like us, but I mean, a lot of gun people probably saw that and didn't get it. And then a lot of people who would get that kind of humor aren't into guns, so it's kind of a weird,
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was the audience was kind of cut down because you had to understand guns to a certain point in order to get half the jokes.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I try to write. I'm trying to write some gun jokes. It's always interesting to try to do a joke about guns in front of this, like. I don't know if you're familiar much with Nashville, but East Nashville is like this super gentrified area of Nashville. Like every city has this now, just about.
Right.
And a bunch of hipsters, a bunch of like 20-year-olds that all moved here from like, Seattle and Portland and stuff. And doing gun jokes in front of these people is can be entertaining, to say the least.
You start telling jokes just to watch them react to them.
Yeah, really. Well, I went to an open mic a couple of nights ago, and like there's just some girl just playing a banjo. It's like, all right, they had this in this bar. It's like they had this game where it's like a stump basically, and you hammer like a nail into it. And then one night I made fun of him. I was like, yeah, in other parts of Nashville, we call that a job, It's fun to just...
Hipsters, that stuff is amazing to me. They're like trying so hard to like not be what they are, that they are. they just like, it's this vicious circle.
I know. The hipsters are kind of evolving. I've seen being in one of the hipster meccas in Nashville. They've kind of evolved a little bit. Well, it's like this with every movement. I feel like with the hippie movement, like it becomes a thing, and then people notice that it's a thing, so then everyone jumps on it and makes fun of it. So then the people that are like, oh, I'm slightly different from that. Like I'm not that. I'm a little bit different from that. And they start trying to distance themselves, but it kind of evolves into something else.
Yeah, the next breed will be very, very interesting.
Yeah. Oh man, and I was actually at an open mic during the election, so that was kind of interesting.
That has to be interesting. Tell me about that. I want to hear that.
So like, the mic started at about 8:30, and elections getting going, and in between, because in an open mic basically you'll have like, I don't know, 50, anywhere from like 10 to like 25 comics, and you do like 4 minutes basically.
Okay.
And you have a host, so you have the same guy comes up between each comic, and brings up the next person. They'll maybe make a joke or something, whatever. So in between each comic, they were updating us on the election, on what the electoral votes were. Trump was in the lead pretty early on, and it was fun to see them all get like really nervous. But still, it was kind of like it'll because pretty much everyone there, of course, wanted Hillary to win. And I don't love Trump, I don't love Trump, but for obvious reasons, I was kind of like, it would be nice, it would be nice if Trump won. So I'm having to keep that to myself, kind of, and it just keeps getting, more and more like he's going to win, and people just get more and more tense, and it starts to get really strange, and people were like very, very upset, and maybe people were making like it was weird because like some comics would go up and they would talk about it, which is what I did. I had some jokes I was going to try out, but I was like, no one wants to hear jokes right now. Everyone's thinking about the election. So I just went up there and just talked to people about the election, basically, and tried to make a joke happen. I think I got like one, or something out of it. But then some people would go up and they were like doing their regular jokes, like, what's the deal with cell phones? And people were just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe Trump is winning, and just people just bombing on all their, material and stuff. But yeah, it was weird.
That's a unique night to be trying jokes on.
Yeah, especially when you got all these, 20-somethings that are just horrified at the idea of Trump being president. And then I went to another open mic after that, which it was already kind of a done deal. Like it was still waiting on like one of those swing states to go or something like that before they called it.
Sure.
And I remember I went up and did my set, and I was like, well, so it looks like Trump is going to be our next president. And this girl in the back, she goes, what? And I looked around like, I mean, that's what the news says, like,
yeah, this is what's going to happen. Oh my God.
Yeah. And people were freaking out. And I've got a lot of comedians that are friends with me on Facebook, and they were just, losing their minds, So
are a lot of the comedians, are they anti-Trump? Is that what the vibe was?
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, I would say of all the Nashville-based comics, there might be like a couple that are more on the conservative side.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, comedians tend to be very liberal, and it's good for them, I guess, because that's about the only way you're going to make it going through that whole Hollywood track.
Right.
Yeah, but. Luckily with the internet, I don't have to. I'm kind of. People keep telling me like, "Oh, put out more material, and all this stuff." And it's like, well, it takes a long time to build
it. Takes
it.
Time.
I can't just put it all out. But I kind of what I'm banking on is hopefully in a few years I'll have like maybe like 30 minutes that I'm happy with, and then I'll just like put it out all at one time on YouTube and just see what happens from there. But,
I don't think people realize how long it takes to hone a joke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, to get the timing right, to get the delivery, the wording, the intonation that you use. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah,
and it's so hard. Like you'll have a joke and it'll like do really well one night. You think, oh, that's a good joke, and then you tell it again another night, and then it'll bomb. You're like, what the hell happened? Right. And it's like there'll be so sometimes you don't know what makes it funny. So there'll be like some little thing that you just like missed or said wrong or weird or something. And you never like really figure out what that was, and it's it's like, all right, well, this joke just it's too inconsistent, so I have to quit doing it.
You were talking about the hipsters and people freaking out about Trump winning. I prior to the votes and everything being tallied that day, I saw some of my more liberal friends on Facebook. Like an example, an ex of mine lives in New York City. And she is as liberal as they come.
Yeah.
And she posted a picture of herself crying.
Oh man.
After she voted for Hillary Clinton, like, we're gonna take over the world. Like, I just there's a special kind of person that is willing to put aside like the worst kind of horrible person just to get away from Donald Trump. Like,
yeah, I don't understand that.
I can't wrap my head around this mentality that, oh no, we're voting, one, because she's a woman, and two, because we don't like Donald Trump, and that's it. Like, it's never about the policies of that person or anything like that. Is I don't like them.
Exactly.
They said mean things, so I'm not going to vote. Like, what has happened to our country?
Yeah. That's one thing I don't understand. I get, like, if you agree with Hillary on whatever her actual issues, because you're on the left side of things. Okay, fine. That's how you think. But people justifying, voting for Hillary just because Trump is bad. It's like, which, you saw it on both sides, I guess. I didn't vote for either one of them because I was like, I'm not going to sign my name. I definitely would never dream about voting for Hillary. But that's not even an option. But with Trump, I was like, for guns, it'll be good if he wins. So I hope he wins. And some of the crazier things he wants to do, I think that'll get leveled out and it won't be a problem. So I'm comfortable with him being president. But I'm not going to sign my name to him, just not going to do it. And that's just kind of how I felt about it, but
and I mean,
and I feel like people on the left didn't do that much with Hillary. They were like,
no,
you got to vote Hillary.
Not at all.
She's a woman, you got to vote her.
Right. She's a woman and she's a Democrat. So you have to vote for that. And I know you and I totally, absolutely agree that the two-party system is broken from the ground up.
Oh, man, yeah.
I didn't even have to ask you if that's the case. I know that's the case because guys our age all believe that.
Right.
We all believe that.
Yeah.
I personally, I wish Rand Paul would have gotten the bid.
Oh, man.
I would have loved to have seen him, either that or his father, or anybody that's in that kind of core pro-freedom group of politicians. I would have loved to have seen that, but that's
it's all about airtime.
Radical,
right? It seems like It seems like whoever wins the election, I should do some actual. No, I won't. I should do some research on this, but I'm too lazy for that. But I feel like you could probably go back and look at every presidential election, at least since 24-hour news has been around, and see who got the most airtime on the news, and I'll bet you that person won every time. I remember in 2008, before Obama got elected, it was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. There's a black presidential candidate, running the Democrat side. It was like, interesting. No one really thought a whole lot about it, and all of a sudden he's all over the news. I remember having this thought, like, oh man, there's a chance he might win. Because I just knew that at that time, like. With Trump, same thing. He's constantly everyone Trump, everything. Whether you hate him, love him, indifferent. He was
everywhere.
Trump everywhere all the time. He was like Hannah Montana for like a little while. It was just ridiculous, And
well, not only that, but then you had the people doing stealing his signs, and there was all that kind of viral content going around about that. Like, why is it okay to steal something from somebody just because? It's like I don't like that you own a Chevy, so I'm going to steal your truck. Like it's in that same vein.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And so here's something interesting that I learned after the election. So it was there. I saw a chart that was basically the amount of people that voted in the past 3 elections, including this one.
Okay.
So the Republican vote has been about 60 million people. The entire time for all 3 elections, it's been about 60 million people. In the previous 2 elections, the Democrats won because Barack Obama was able to capture more people and get them out to vote. The reason Hillary Clinton was not able to succeed was not because Donald Trump won, but because she wasn't able to capture that same audience of people that Barack Obama was able to capture. The first election he ran, 7 million people voted for him. The second one, 65 million people. And these are estimated numbers. I'd have to look at the chart again.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is the Republican vote hasn't changed. The Democrats let that one slide because Hillary Clinton was not able to capture an audience.
She was very unpopular, even on the left.
Yeah. Because she's a horrible person.
Yeah. She looks horrible, sounds horrible. She does horrible things. She murders people, probably.
Well, she says things like basket of deplorables when describing people that are humans. No matter what, she pissed off a lot of people with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh man, what's funny too is you heard all this stuff on the news about Trump did the opposite of that. He rallied so many people. But what's interesting is Romney actually got more votes than he did. last time. Well, that's the thing that I saw, you know. So, but a lot of that was just on both sides. Well, people like me, they were just like, I'm not signing my name to either of these people, you know.
Right. And you know, we saw this movement with Bernie Sanders, and then the Democratic Party just hung him out to dry. I think had he been in there in place of Hillary Clinton, we would have a Democratic president right now, or a socialist, however you want to call it. Yeah,
it's very possible. You know, my wife actually has this really interesting theory that I tend to agree with, that moving forward, it's not going to be Democrat versus Republican anymore. It's going to take a while if this happens. It's going to be socialist versus libertarian. And
I believe
I don't know if that's better or worse. I don't know.
It sounds a little more drastic.
It does. a lot more drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we don't see a surge any more than we already have in socialism in the United States. The amount of justification people are trying to use to, well, it works in other countries. It doesn't work anywhere.
No.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't work anywhere, especially not in a country that was not founded on it.
Right.
You know, like we're a democratic republic, and people are saying maybe it's a constitutional republic. I'm not sure what the actual term is. It's a republic.
Yeah.
And I think trying to transfer that into our current culture would cause some very bad things.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I don't see the socialism movement going away, unfortunately. Just the people that I end up hanging around a lot, you know, in random East Nashville bars, you know, several nights a week. It's just like, you know, it's growing. And, you know, and I think one of the only things that could save it is if we come up with something. I was talking with Dad about this last night, actually. It'd be great if we get, because, you know, we like the idea that, you know, people aren't going to starve to death on the streets, you know, but it'd be nice if there was some way that there could be like some kind of safety net for people where it's like, you're not going to die just because you got terrible ideas, you know, or no work ethic, but like, you know, but it's not going to necessarily go against people who are going to work hard. You know, it's not going to take away stuff from people who do have ambition, and it's not going to disincentivize people to be successful. That's the problem with socialism. To me, the biggest problem with socialism is the fact that it incentivizes you to not be successful. You know, because it's like Kalashnikov. The guy invented the AK. The guy should have been a billionaire, you know, but he was a regular guy in Russia, you know. I had honor and stuff, I guess, but I mean, probably lived in a regular house.
I mean, the concept in people's heads that everyone should get the same result no matter what will disenfranchise the entire country.
Right.
You know, we're a country built on doing big things and great things and going from zero to the best that you possibly can be.
Yeah.
And that would just die.
Yeah.
It would just die. You know, and I think one of the issues with the government programs is not that the program exists. The issue is the abuse thereof.
Right. And it's like, how do you eliminate that?
There's the people that the people that abuse the welfare system, the tax system, like all of that kind of stuff is an issue. You know, we don't do that. We're good Americans, and we do what's right. And somehow we created a culture, a subculture, so to speak, of people that live their lives taking advantage of the system.
Right. So there's got to be some way where you can motivate those people to better themselves, but then also, you know, keep them from dying on the streets. Because I used to work security in this government subsidized housing area. It wasn't the actual projects. It was like that. It was like, you know, next level
in
up.
Between.
Yeah, basically. And, you know, and I saw it firsthand, you know, people that just sit around and just drink beer all day. They don't go to work. You know, and you know, you'd see these single moms that would basically be dating some like dope dealer, and there's like a new Lexus parked in the, you know, in the parking lot outside the house, and you know, and it's selling food stamps for drugs. You know, you see all this kind of stuff,
Well, we've seen a glorification of that type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, wherever it may come from, whether it's television, music, etc., there's a glorification of being a POS.
Yeah, basically, just go like it's considered like going against the system, but it's not. They're using the system. They're like a slave of the system,
right? And there's a lot of people that don't realize that.
It's really sad.
We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go as a country.
Yeah, we really do.
We're doing better.
Yeah, and it's so weird because if you think about like like the hippie philosophy of money is not real, man. It doesn't matter. It's just like we're all the same. Like while that stuff is true, I have a friend that I argue about this sometimes. It's like, yes, it's true. Money isn't real. It's an arbitrary, just invented idea. But you know what is real? Resources, right? There's always going to be some amount of resources. I don't care if we're in some weird dimension where we don't have physical bodies and like we're going to trade something. There's going to be something that we like that we're going to want to have more of, that we're going to fight over. Like there's always going to be some kind of resource. You can't eliminate that from reality.
You can't eliminate human nature.
Right. Exactly. But then again, you can't let people monopolize all of it. So there's got to be some kind of balance there. Like I like to think about an example of like if you had a bunch of people living on an island or something. Like if you go too far in the capitalism direction, then if one guy finds the water supply first, he doesn't, he has all the water, then he can basically turn everyone else into slaves, and that's not fair. That we can't allow that to happen. But if the guy that finds the water first has to share it with everyone equally, then what was his incentive for finding the water in the first place? Right. Which would be like hardcore socialism. So there's got to be something, in the middle that we can find that works.
I think there's a lot of things that come along with capitalism that people are unwilling to face. With the type of scenario, the island scenario, the thing that comes into my head that would have to happen in that is violence.
Yeah, basically.
Afraid, we have created a society that is afraid of anything violent.
Yeah.
And whether I'm not here to say that that's good, bad, indifferent, whatever. I'm saying that exists and we hide our heads from it as a culture.
Exactly. Well, it's one of the reasons I called this show Gun Culture Radio was because like the whole idea, because I was talking about things other than guns, the whole idea is like our entire culture is literally propped up by weapons. Weapons are the only reason that we have these imaginary lines and these imaginary systems and all this kind of stuff. Right. Weapons. It's the only reason. It's the only reason, because some people are stronger than other people, so they tell others what to do. It's the only reason, and a lot of people, they don't realize that. Like the whole the pen is mightier than the sword thing. Like every time the pen is mightier than the sword, but the pen does not exist without the sword. That's kind of the way I look at it.
It couldn't possibly.
No.
I mean, they are mutually beneficial to each other.
Right. Like when the sword is in play, the pen is always the thing that will win. But it's when it's not.
I love this type of discussion because the reality is you start talking about the core of what makes people who they are, and that is something that so many people fear. They're so afraid of realizing that they may be a violent person. They may not be as good as they think they are.
Right.
And the reality of those situations, when faced with adversity, people tend to shrink into who they really, really are, and that'll tell you a lot about a person. Yeah. And I think American people have this grandiose idea that they're above violence and above certain things, and I would be shocked if those same people were able to make it in a society where that like now violence is so uncommon that we've kind of gone, oh, we're above that as a society, and I simply don't think that humans as a core are above that.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, look at other parts of the world,
yeah,
where it's commonplace. I don't think that human nature has eliminated violence as a necessity, and that as unfortunate as that may be, it's the reality.
Well, yeah, I mean, just think if people think like, oh, if you break a law, then you get a fine or you go to jail. But the reality is the reason you get that fine or the reason that you go to jail willingly is because you know if you don't, violence happens to you. Eventually, somewhere down the line, violence will happen to you, you know. And that's our world revolves around it. You know, there's no escaping it. And that's why, you know, the preaching to the choir, but you know, that's why the Second Amendment, of course, is I do that all the time. But the Second Amendment, of course, is so important. And you know, and I will say too, I hang around like very liberal people a lot with doing comedy, and I am constantly surprised how many of them are actually into guns. Now I run into the anti-gun ones all the time, but it's kind of split. To be honest, of like all of the comedians that I know, it's kind of 50-50, and you know, and they're basically all left. Almost all of them are left. But as far as guns, it's kind of split in the middle. It's nice,
which is very interesting in its own right. You know, because I think these lines of left and right are starting to be blurred a lot more than they used to be.
Yeah.
You know, our generation has done some interesting things in that way. You know, there's basically, you know, the group of people that is pro freedom.
Right.
And pro personal responsibility. And then there's another group of people that believes that the state, the government should take care of people. But for some reason, there are certain aspects of our culture that kind of bring us together. And that is something that I find very curious. You know, if there are people out there that maybe believe that the state should support, you know, whoever, the government should support a certain group of people for some reason, but they still believe in the right to bear arms, I think that does a lot for the Second Amendment. And I think it's a direct result of the culture that is coming out of impoverished areas.
Right.
And I don't mean poor people are violent people.
No,
I mean those areas are typically way more crime-ridden and violence-ridden. And as that kind of spreads out of those areas and we see horrible things happening, you know, sporadically throughout our country, I think a lot of people are going, oh, crap.
Yeah,
I need to be armed.
Yeah.
Because the world is not what it used to be.
Yeah, and well, I've talked to gun shop owners in East Nashville areas, and they've said, like, you'd be surprised how many people come in here, you know, the same kind of people you see around there, very, very young, you know, left kind of people coming there buying guns because these gentrified areas, you got this little pocket of, you know, coffee shops and, you know, awesome barbecue places and all this kind of stuff and cool bars and breweries and all this stuff. But right next door, you've got, you know, the kind of people that have always lived in that area. And it's really weird. I'm sure you probably have these kind of areas in your town. You drive through and it's like hipsters, but then the occasional like dude with a 40, you know, walking down the street, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, it makes people think. Another thing too, like after you know, Sandy Hook, which of course was a scary time. Aside from, you know, the horrific tragedy, it was a scary time for gun owners. We know, like, here it comes. You know, here comes this big attack. And I remember before all that really went down in a big way in the media, I was thinking, like, all right, this is scary, but here's the thing: is like it's now we're gonna have a gun election. Is basically what's gonna happen. A lot of people haven't really thought a lot about how they feel about guns, but now everyone is. Everyone now is going to decide how they feel about guns for the most part, and we'll see who wins. And you know, our side won, so it's kind of nice, and we've been stronger ever since.
I think it's been a really, really interesting ride over the last few years. You know, when Sandy Hook happened, I was working in a gun store, and that weekend, literally everything in the store sold out.
Yeah.
And suddenly people that weren't really into guns were going, okay, I think I need to defend myself. And it's very, very interesting to see what type of people end up going, okay, I need to defend myself. And that's not a thing that would have peeked its head out in, the 80s or 90s.
Right.
And now we're seeing people going, okay, the police are minutes away and I need them now. So I'm going to defend myself in the meantime.
Right.
And whether or not those people actually could do something like that, are capable, training wise, whatever. We're not here to speculate that, but I think there was a definite culture shift at that moment. With all of these continued attacks, whether they're on people in a church, people at work, in a club, police, things like that. The culture has just gone haywire, and seeing more and more people that previously would just have not given a crap about having a firearm saying, you know what, I want to be able to do something if something bad happens in my area where I'm at, my immediate area.
And like, as much as I feel like a lot of these, police shootings, because they've kind of drifted off of the news lately, have been kind of misconstrued. Of course, that's a whole nother topic. But sometimes when I'm talking to people who are kind of left leaning, I know how they probably feel about that situation. So I'll kind of use that sometimes by saying like, oh, so you trust them with guns? Like, you don't trust people with guns, but you trust only cops with guns. Do you think that's a good idea based on what you believe about police shootings?
Right.
And that's like, it points out some hypocrisy, I think, in a lot of people.
I don't know if you've seen, there's a guy named Maj Toure.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was on a podcast called This Week in Guns, and we had him on there, and it was really interesting to see his perspective as somebody that lives a completely different lifestyle and still has that value. He is able to speak to a person that would never, ever care about what I have to say.
Right.
Just because of who I am and who he is. He reaches a completely different audience. And I think that is one of the most important things, and I hope that more people pick up on his message and continue to spread that through, quote unquote, the hood.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's the kind of people he's able to reach that I just can't.
Yeah, I saw the interview, one of the interviews with him on some news station or something. It was really interesting.
He's a great representative. In that direction, and I would love to see more people pushing that way, because there's like I'm a Northeast guy. Like, I grew up in the suburbs. You're a Southern guy, and you grew up out in the country a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just people that will not listen to what we have to say.
Right. Grew up in a log cabin already. That loses all credibility.
Right. It's really cool to see more people like that coming out and speaking positively about firearms and firearms ownership and personal responsibility. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. The more diversity, the better. I always thought it was weird, even as a kid, going around to gun shows and stuff. I always hung out with my dad when I was a kid. When I was really young, I was like, "Oh, come on, Dad, another gun show." Like, I didn't even, it's like we're always at a gun show or in a gun shop or something. It seemed like, and I would always notice there's no black people here. This is weird. Like, why do the black people not like guns? And then as I got older, you find out that it's kind of a complex thing. You've got there are a lot of black people who tend to be anti-gun, but then the ones who aren't, they're kind of like some of the ones I've talked to, they're kind of afraid almost of, because it's such a white dominated hobby and sport. They feel like they're going to be stared at when they go to a gun show, and somewhat that's true because it's uncommon. So you will have some people and they're like, oh, there's a black guy in here, And,
ooh, a black guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And and I hate that. But it's great that that's changing now. It really does seem to be changing. because you see a lot more black people or other minorities getting involved in firearms. You know, NRA convention. You know, I remember you see a lot more minorities at those. You know,
and you know, we've seen that. We've seen the women come out of left field.
Oh yeah, they've been amazing.
And I love it because most of them can outshoot their boyfriends, and that is my favorite.
I mean, that's a crazy phenomenon, isn't it? Like, women are just like, especially at the initial stages of learning to shoot, they're always better, almost every time. You know?
Yeah, there's an innate ability in a woman to be able to shoot straight. So don't make your girlfriend angry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh man, but it's been a really interesting ride, and you know, guys, you know, like us are I think that we have a responsibility to continue to push in that direction in the firearms industry and community. I think we have a responsibility to continue to support new people, to foster their education and their willingness to participate. You know, it's in years past, you know, I got the vibe, and I'm not sure if you did because of the way you grew up, but as I came into the industry, I kind of got the vibe from a lot of older guys that I was just new blood and I didn't matter. Yeah. If I wasn't hunting, you know, you don't hunt? What does that even mean? And
I used to get those being in the redneck area because I never hunted. Still don't.
Right. Really. So you get it. You totally get it.
Yeah.
You know, like this if you don't hunt, you're not a gun guy culture is gone. Yeah. It's absolutely gone. And it's up to us to continue to foster that and show people that this is far beyond hunting.
Yeah.
Yes, hunting is fun and you can feed your family, and there's a lot of great benefits to being a hunter. Sure.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody. You can't expect everybody to do it, and you shouldn't expect everybody to do it.
I always had a standard answer. Is I would just tell people, well, you know, my dad was a competition shooter, and I grew up shooting, you know, Glocks and an Uzi and AR-15s and all that kind of stuff at a range. So I like the patience for hunting, you know. Like, I have a gun in my hand, I want to shoot stuff with it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's cool. You know, it's something I wouldn't mind trying sometime. I always thought it'd be neat to take out a grizzly bear. And I always thought that would be kind of cool.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, you know what we should, and this is something I've always wanted to do. I love the YouTube group of guys. I love the culture that you know, it's another subculture, but I love the camaraderie that we all have. Yeah. Just like we're all
except
kind
for 10 Outdoors 9, that guy's terrible.
I love that guy. I know you know him way better than I do. Well, every interaction I've had with him.
Well, what's funny about I don't know, I guess you probably know, but like I don't know, I forget what part of his real name he keeps out of the media, but 10 Outdoors 9.
Yeah.
At least that part. No, my dad has known him since the mid '80s. They used to work together. And
really,
yeah, I've actually got some old footage on a VHS tape that I need to convert to digital of them shooting from like before I was born, like 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. And then 22 Plinkster, Dad's well, me too. We've known him since 1999. So
really,
yeah.
How did you guys link up with him?
Well, let's see. I don't know how much of that he puts out.
Oh, okay.
He had the business that he was in.
Oh yeah.
You know, we ran into each other that way.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm jealous of the area that you guys have. You know, there's kind of a group of you guys all kind of down in the South. I'm alone in my area.
Yeah.
I mean, I would bet that I'm a good 6 hours from any other YouTuber that has you know a channel that I might be aware of. You know, if anybody's listening and you live near me and I don't realize it, just come punch me in the face. But you know, like one of my good friends, YD from Four Guys Guns, he's all the way up in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
There's guys in Ohio, there's guys down south, but you know, we're very spread out here in the Northeast, and you guys have this cool little group of guys that you can just drive to each other's houses and you've known each other for a while. And
yeah,
I just think that's Eric, so cool.
Even those guys, you know, they're not too far from us down in Georgia.
Right.
And
it takes me 12 hours to get to the Atlanta area.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yeah, man. But
it kind of makes
part
sense.
Of the fun for me.
Yeah, traveling is fun. That's I don't know what it is. There's something more fun about traveling for work, like when you have a mission. You know what I mean? Versus like going on vacation. I don't know what it is. It's like you're going somewhere to do a thing, and you do that thing, and then you go back home. It feels like, I don't know if it's some kind of like primal, like, thing like, go gather resources, come back, like, I don't know where it comes from, but there's something fun about traveling for work. But I'm glad I don't have to do it all the time. That would be exhausting.
I travel an enormous amount.
Yeah.
Because, I've talked about this publicly before, but I don't just make YouTube videos and gun videos. I also do some consulting work and marketing work for a few companies, and that involves an enormous amount of travel.
Yeah, I bet.
Like there's been a bunch of military arms channels videos where I'm behind the scenes. You'd never know I was there. Just like filming or something like that. Same thing goes with Eric and Chad. I just pop in behind the scenes, and I have traveled more in the last 2 years than ever before in my entire life. It's been bonkers, but at the same time, I totally understand what you're saying. Like there's this feeling of, yes, a mission accomplished. I did what I had to do, and now I'm going to go home and sleep for 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't travel like that. We pretty much, stay in the woods, but when we do travel, it seems like it's when it rains, it pours kind of thing. It's like, there's always a bunch of things at once, and it's just like, all right, we're out to this thing.
Everybody wants a piece.
Yeah.
I know you guys have to, as soon as somebody finds out you're going somewhere, you guys got to get hounded to go to everything near.
Yeah, we get some of that. Not as bad as you'd think, though. It's not too bad.
Okay.
We get, like, the thing that's tough for us sometimes is there's a lot of things that we'd probably like to do that we really can't, because we get invitations all the time from different companies and stuff, but it's just like, especially with gun companies, we're trying to stay away from gun companies as much as we possibly can. So we try to not go to like, big like reveals of products, and things like that, because we don't want people to get some idea that like we're in bed with them, which it wouldn't mean that we were. But it's just, people would get that idea with the nature of the way we do things, So we try to like,
sure, and you're protecting your image, and I get that.
Yeah, because it's like, it's because people don't trust you. That's like, people still think we get paid by Glock, and did they like pay for? I was trying to come up with something funny. They bought you a new house, right? Yeah, they did.
Glock
yeah,
branded house.
Yeah, exactly. It's all made of polymer. It's got a striker fired door. I don't know. I'm out of ideas. But,
just keep running that joke into the ground.
I am, yeah. 2 examples, it was done. But I tell people, it's like, Dad's been saying the same thing about Glocks since the damn like second video that we ever put out. It's like, you think they were paying us then, And ironically, and I'm not afraid to say it, Glock is one of the worst companies to deal with, to be honest. When it comes to like,
surprise me at all.
Yeah, when it comes with like, they were the first company we ever got T&E guns from, and that's probably where some of that came from.
Okay.
And then it got to the point where T&E guns weren't that exciting of a thing. It was exciting when we first got it. Like, wow, we're big time now. We're they're sending us a gun.
Yeah.
This is so weird. And then like soon after that, it was like, we're just constantly turning them down. But Glock was still like, they'd make us pay the shipping. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
So I'm gonna explain for the people out there that may not understand, the perspective of a guy that does review type videos or product spotlights or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So basically, the reason these companies send guys firearms, right? They send it because it's a marketing thing. So they want that gun to be promoted. Whether the review is good, bad, indifferent, it's still a promotion, right? So a lot of companies will prey on smaller guys with the kind of incentive like, hey, we're going to send you a gun. This is very cool for you. But at the same time, the reason I stopped doing reviews a long time ago is because it's very difficult to find a way to make money doing it unless you have a lot of other options, other things going on, right?
Right.
So basically what you end up doing is spending money. So the gun comes in. You end up spending money on ammunition, money on your time, and then money to ship the gun back.
Yeah.
And you end up putting out more money than you would ever make on, AdSense dollars or whatever on that particular video. And that's part of the reason a lot of small channels struggle, is because they end up spending so much money because they love it so much that they want to put out these cool videos and they want to make people happy and spread the word about some cool gun that they may like or may not, whatever the result is. But they can't always facilitate growth, and it's a very difficult mountain to climb. And that's why guys will get to a point where if they can afford it, they'll just go out and buy the guns because they don't want to deal with having to send a gun back or having to deal with the company or anything like that, because it's way easier to just be independent.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of the large YouTubers besides yourself, and a lot of them have that same mentality. Like, I'm kind of done dealing with these companies that are frustrated when a video doesn't go the right way or doesn't get the result that they want. Like, well, make a better product.
Yeah, I know, it's so annoying. I remember we got I'll just name you specifics. We got a T&E gun from a company that's known for making very nice 1911s. All right, and
okay.
So they were like, okay, this gun has not been released yet, so don't wait a little bit before you put the video out. Like, fine. So
sure.
So
give it some time. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't like to post the video like right on the day that it's released. We usually wait. So we make the video. We sat on that video for like half a year, like 6 months. We sat on that thing forever. Like, forgot about it. Actually, like, we actually forgot that we had it. And we were like, oh wow. Yeah, we had this video. I was like, I better get that out before it's like. Dad's always like, which I don't really think it matters, but Dad always makes a big deal out of like not wanting to put out a video in the summer where it looks like the winter. Like, to me it's like they're gonna be up there for years anyway. Yeah. So like, who cares, but that's like one of his big things, so it's fine. And so we were like, oh yeah, we gotta get that out, so we did. We put it out. It didn't even cross our minds, didn't even think about the fact that maybe it wasn't out yet, because usually when they send those guns it's like a couple of weeks before it actually comes out.
Right.
So didn't even think about it. And so then, bam, email, like, within like an hour, like, hey, what do you like? We haven't released that yet. What are you doing? And that was just like a big to do. So we're like, you know what? Never again. That was the last time we ever did anything like that. We're just like, never again. And then with this relationship we have with Buds, it's so much smoother because we just like, hey, we want this. When you get it, send it to us. And we do the video on it, send it back. So
I think that's a great thing that you guys have done. It gives you a lot more flexibility. You don't necessarily feel bad for saying certain things about the gun because there's no.
Yeah, it's just a shop,
Right, like they're not going to get upset if a gun doesn't work.
Yeah, if anything, they might want to know that and not stop selling it or something,
Right. Whereas a manufacturer, not always. There are some manufacturers that are incredible to work with, that are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
That love to hear feedback, but the companies out there that don't, and they get upset when their product doesn't work. Like, well, you probably should have waited a little bit and found out more about your product before you brought it to us.
Yeah, definitely. That reminds me, I meant to ask you. I got one of those, those urban carry holsters. Those things?
Oh, you got one of those? Huh?
I got one. It's on the way. I haven't actually received it yet. Have you messed with one of those? I like the. It looks cool, but I don't know. I've never worn one, so I don't know if it's any good or not.
Did you get the Gen 1 or Gen 2?
The Gen 2.
Okay, so I think the Gen 2 fixed some of the things that were wrong with the Gen 1.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would use it because I'm a fat dude and my gut gets in the way of a holster like that, where I have to like pull it out of my pants.
Yeah.
But they put a magnet down in the holster to hold the gun in, because the last one didn't have anything, and you could, if you pulled hard enough and didn't grab the gun the right way, it could go flying across the room, which is hilarious. But
what if someone across the room needs a gun?
Right. Like catch.
Yeah.
But I think the concept is cool, and I'd like to see more people kind of going in that direction because it gives the opportunity to people that may not have carried a gun because of the location of the holster before.
Yeah.
It gives them an opportunity to do so. And I've not worn one. All the stuff that I've talked about on my show has been speculation and just going on the information I have via their promotional material and things like that. You know?
I'm looking forward to it.
I've heard good and bad. I've heard guys, when I do those pieces, you know, I have audience members that, I have one, it's great, or I bought one and it's a piece of junk. I've heard both. So
I'm sure,
it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, I'm sure it depends on a lot of factors. My thing is, a pistol carry is my favorite place to put a gun, except for one small problem. You can't sit down. That's the only thing.
I've never tried it.
Yeah, I like standing up, perfect. Sitting down, horrible. And that's what that holster kind of seemed like to me. Maybe a way to carry in that fashion, but it doesn't jam you in the pelvic bone. Every time you try to sit down.
Right.
But I don't know.
There's you get a sweet like lump in your pants. Then.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
like a desert eagle.
Like, is that a gun? Or are you happy to see me?
Yeah,
that's a gun.
it's a very large gun. There's part of me that just wants to just say, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna wear a fanny pack. I'm just gonna carry whatever I want.
That's it.
I'm gonna go full nothing fancy.
Fanny pack. Yes. I don't think I would carry a fanny pack. I don't know why. Like it makes sense.
It does.
I just don't know why I wouldn't. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. There's that weird like cultural thing. I was born in '84. Like growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, a fanny pack was like a thing for a little bit. But as I got older, it was totally lame.
Oh, super lame.
Stuck with me.
Yeah. I know, that's the problem. It's funny, they're starting to come back a little bit. Like I see like hipsters wearing them and stuff. But it's just like
it's like a man purse almost, but it's culturally acceptable somehow.
It is. And what's weird is like the whole point of it is that you can hide a gun in there, a big gun, and it's comfortable. But I almost want to like put a sign on it, like I have this because there's a huge gun in it. And that would defeat the purpose.
Like trying to justify it.
Yeah.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, like I would want to tell everyone, like it's okay. There's a Glock 21 in it with like 3 extra magazines.
Like that Seinfeld episode. It's European.
Yeah. European shoulder bag. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, the lap sack.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I'll actually have the balls to do it or not. We'll see. But it's like
I wish you good luck, sir.
Yeah. Barbara's like, you know what? I'm married. I got a kid. Who cares? What are they gonna do? And plus, being one thing that's kind of fun about being a comedian. Well, man, people get funny about that. Like, you're not a real comedian until you're like, living off of it. It's like, what am I supposed to call myself? A person who attempts jokes, whatever.
Right. A joke attempter.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. One of those. It's like, I feel like you can get by with some things if you just kind of own it. If I can write a good enough amount of jokes about the fanny pack, then maybe I'll start wearing it.
Yeah, people will walk by. Are you wearing a fanny pack? Yeah. What? You don't have one?
Yeah. I need like 10 minutes on it,
Yes.
I just gotta.
You would be doing really well if you could create 10 minutes of fun out of a fanny pack.
Yeah, that would be.
That's a challenge right there.
That is. That's going to make the difference whether I actually will get one or not.
If I can write enough jokes about it.
Yeah.
Justify the ownership.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I don't know. But it is a problem, though, trying to figure out some way to carry a bigger, because one of my, I love full size. I like the Glock 21, but I also like the XDS equivalent. I don't think I've ever shot the M&P equivalent, but I like a big, large frame polymer double stack 45 ACP. I love those things. I always feel like I shoot them better than a lot of other handguns, and it's like 13, 14 rounds. I mean, it's great, but it's it's huge. Trying to carry one of those. I
carried
really
I carried an HK-45 for like 2 years, full size, threaded barrel, like a big gun.
Yeah, those things are huge.
And I kind of got used to it, and then I switched to an XDS.
Yeah,
and I carried that for a few years, and I liked it. You know, I liked having that, but then, you know, you always get that feeling in the back of your head, like I don't have enough rounds on me.
Yeah,
I don't have. So I switched recently to carry a Glock 19, and I'm like, this is probably the best mix of all. It's relative. It's kind of that medium size, and
yeah,
you know, the thing is with carrying a firearm, it's just as long as you have one on you,
right.
And you know how to use it properly. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll go out with a pocket 380, you know, and feel fine about it. You know, people will knock 380, but it's like there's so many levels of things, like where, like in a lot of situations, just the fact that you have a gun at all is going to be like being so prepared in the situation.
Oh my God, yeah.
The fact that you have something that shoots back, you know, it's like, you know, if you get involved in something that a 380 can't handle, it's like the odds are just really against you that day, probably. But it is comforting having more than that, of course.
Well, I mean, you know, with modern 380 ammunition, you can do a lot that you previously could not do.
Right.
You know, I think that's something that hasn't quite resonated with everybody yet. Modern ammo has done some incredible things for defensive uses of firearms.
Yeah, it really has. That's why a lot of people are going back to the 9. You know,
right?
Ammo's
right. I mean, better. The FBI dropped 40.
Yeah.
For that exact reason. Like, why have that extra bit of recoil from a 40, that extra bit of snap, when you don't need it?
Right. Because I mean, in my experience, at least, regardless of what level you are at, shooting ability wise, you're probably going to shoot better with something that recoils less, even if it's a small margin, you know.
Yeah, and my personal thoughts are that you know, I prefer a 45 ACP over a 40, and I prefer a 9 over a 40.
Yeah, same here, 9 or 45. That's my thing.
Yeah, and I, you know, I actually, funny story. When I was working at the gun store a long while back, I had a guy come up and tell me that 9mm was an intermediate cartridge between 40 and 380. He said that those were older and that 9 was a newer cartridge.
Wow.
I just laughed. All right, guy. Sure. Yeah. Totally, bro. He's like 9 will just like bounce off windshields, and I'm like, oh my God, why are you shooting through windshields as a civilian?
What do you think the German P08 Luger shot? You know,
right. Like, let's rewind the clock a little bit there, champ.
Yeah.
Oh, good work.
That's funny. Well, I had a guy one time. I was looking at some gun years ago. I can't remember what it was now. One of the early single stack 9mm. It might have been. I think it was that one that Bursa makes. That little single stack 9. I forget what it's called.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. The guy was like, now that's 9x19. That's not the 9mm that you're familiar with. I was like, okay. Did I strike you as like a Russian or something? You know?
Yeah. I shoot 9 Makarov? Is that what you're doing here?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Oh, you thought I shot 9x25 Dylan. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, man. There's so many weird calibers out there. I try to stay away from weird calibers. I mean, they're interesting, but it's just like, it's too much, you know? I don't know.
I got sucked into getting into like the big bore stuff and some of the kind of not so popular cartridges, and trying to keep ammo on hand for all that stuff gets old. Yeah,
I know you're really big into the 500 Smith & Wesson with that, like that lever action. Who makes that thing again that you have?
Bighorn Armory.
Yeah, that thing is sweet. I love that.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I waited 2 years to get it.
Oh, man.
I ordered it. You know, this was before. Long before TGC was a thing. You know, it was before my old channel had any kind of traction, and I was like, I need that in my life.
I remember you showed it to me like a couple years ago.
Yeah. And it was absolutely incredible. It's super well made, with the exception of the sight. The rear sight loves to just come off. I've just taken it off at this point. I sent it back and put a pick rail. I had them put a pick rail on it so I could put a scope on it because the sight just kept falling off under recoil. I mean, that thing just bumps.
Oh, it bumps.
What, I have this affinity for half-inch bullets. If something's big, I want it.
Yeah. There's something neat about it. What size rounds can you shoot? Can you shoot the full power loads in there? I mean, like some of the 500 grainers and stuff.
I've shot up to 500 grains in that. I've shot some 440 grain subsonics, but I have on hand. I've been waiting to I have such a limited amount. I haven't shot them yet, but I have some 700 grainers.
Those things
I have
are
some
nuts.
600 grainers. Like, the problem is with a rifle, as opposed to a revolver, you have to worry about the chamber depth.
Right.
So I'm not even sure if the 700 grain bullets with the shape of the bullet will properly fit in this in the chamber.
I doubt it.
So that's kind of something. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but
especially those things are basically like it's like a giant cylinder of lead at the end of it.
Yeah, it's like shooting a lipstick container down range.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we're gonna make this as big as possible. You know.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen those things loaded in a 500 Magnum? Basically, it's just flush.
And you know, the way I always explain it to people is when you hold 10 of them in your hand, you're holding a pound of lead, and guys just what? Because that's just not a thing that they think of. Like, you shoot 7 of them down range, or no, 10 of them. Sorry, you shoot 10 700 grain bullets, you're shooting a pound of lead.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely bonkers. But you know, it's funny. The first ever AR-15 that I put together was a 50 Beowulf.
Oh wow,
that's just the way I roll, man. If it's big and kind of ridiculous, I probably want it or already have it.
Yeah, I shot what caliber? I want to say 416. I don't know. I feel like that's not right. It was something in the 4s. It was at the Iraq Veteran Shoot, and it was CMMG
458 SOCOM.
458 SOCOM. That's what it was. I shot one of those down there. It was pretty cool.
Man, that's a great cartridge.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it uses the same magazine just like the Beowulf, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the 458 SOCOM is such a thumper. I mean, it's very similar to Beowulf. I mean, I could wax for a little while about why one is more successful than the other, but the fact of the matter is they're both big bore cartridges, and they send a large bullet down range at some butt naked speeds.
Yeah, you
know, for a big bullet, you know, you're shooting a 300 grain bullet down range at like 1900 feet per second. That's got some energy behind it. And I personally love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd take down anything. Not a bad home defense.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally, you know, if you got within the proper range and whatever, you could take down anything in North America, and most likely anything on Earth. Yeah, with a round like that.
I'll tell you a gun I really got the hots for not too long ago. You ever been to Friendship, Indiana? That muzzleloader shoot up there?
No. What's that all about?
It's really cool. It's kind of like the anti-Knob Creek in a way, because it started basically exactly what it is. It started out as just a competition for muzzleloading. You know, people bring up their muzzleloaders up there and shoot, and then all these vendors, of course, came around it. So it's this big traditional show that you can buy like handmade knives and
cool.
You know, all that kind of cool stuff. You know, big leather, you know, all that stuff.
Did you guys do a video on that?
I think years ago. Back? Yeah, years ago we did.
Okay.
I think
I vaguely remember seeing something about that from you guys.
Yeah, I think we did, because I've been going since I was a little kid. And anyways, I was walking around in there, and they had a you familiar with the Springfield trapdoor?
Oh yeah.
So this guy had one that had been cut down into a handgun. I can't remember if it was an original one or a reproduction, but it was a Springfield trapdoor handgun with like a 8-inch barrel or something. I was just like, I have to own that.
Yes, I need that in every way.
Oh man, it's so cool, and I love the trapdoor because you fling that big thing up and the case comes flying out. I mean, they're so neat. I love those things.
There's like pageantry to it.
Yeah, there's something so cool about them. Iconic. They've been in a lot of westerns and stuff.
Yeah, man.
And also, you kind of feel like you're shooting a Civil War rifle, but it doesn't take forever, and your hands don't get all black. You know. But I was thinking about. At first, I was thinking, well, I guess that's an NFA item, but I guess technically you could have someone make that as just a pistol, right?
I guess if it starts life as a pistol, yeah. I'd have to kind of wrap my head around it. I don't see why.
Because I guess no one's producing that, but I mean, if you bought a reproduction for you birdie or whatever, took it to a gunsmith and had him cut it down, could they like sell it back to you as a handgun or like resale number it, or I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I think it would be an SBR at that point, but I'm not positive. I'd have to check into that. I know if it was like a muzzle loader, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure of the legality on chopping down a rifle and turning it into a handgun. I think still technically it would be an SBR, but I don't know. I'd have to ask Adam.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point now, and for those of you that may not be familiar, on the Gun Collective, there's a show called The Legal Brief. The guy who hosts it is a good buddy of mine, and he's a firearms attorney, and he like whenever I have a question like that, I'm like, "Hey, Adam, so here's the thing: is it legal?"
Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
Yeah,
man.
I'm very fortunate to kind of have that fall into place for us.
Yeah, you got a cool little thing going, man, with that
I
show.
appreciate that.
It's fun. I think I told you this a bunch of times. It was funny when the first show first came out. Zeke showed it to me, and it was just kind of like I didn't get it at first for some. I was just like, I don't know about this. It was something that seemed weird to me about it. But then I kept watching it. As you would come out with a new episode, and I was like, no, I kind of like this. This is cool. It's just like you just get blasted with gun information. It's entertaining and it's quick, and it's like then it's just over, and it's like, okay, I know new things about what's going on in the industry now.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's so drastically different than anything that anybody else is putting out right now. It's so different.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason it got any amount of traction is because it's different.
And I think that's why it was an acquired taste for me at first, because usually, I think for most people, when something is good at first, you're kind of like, oh, like Game of Thrones was like that for me. I watched the first episode when it first aired, and I was like, I don't know, and didn't watch it for like years. And then my wife was just like, you got to watch Game of Thrones. Like, all right, fine. I did. And I was like, wow, this is great.
You're like, I love you, Khaleesi.
Yeah.
But I think I've been very fortunate with the Gun Collective. I think as time goes on and I'm able to expand, it's going to continue to be different. And I've had these conversations with a lot of guys like yourself, and my intent is not to do the same thing that people are already doing well. I get asked all the time, can you make TGC News longer? And I always, there are guys out there that do long-form content very, very well. I'm not that guy. I have a very short attention span, and I make content that I would sit down and watch very quickly. I can absorb a lot of information, and that's, if you want to watch something longer, I guarantee you that there are guys out there that have something on the topic that you want. Right. You know what I mean? Like, go watch that stuff. Go watch Eric. Go watch Hickok. Go watch Tim. Go watch these longer form videos because they're done well, and that's what they do. That's why you go to those guys. If you want the whole thing, that's where it is. For me, you're getting the 30,000 foot view, and you're getting it quick.
Yeah, and it's great because it's like I know if I watch your show, if there's anything really big going on in the industry that I haven't heard about yet, it's going to be on there probably.
Yeah,
I'm at least going to be made.
Likely.
I'm at least going to be made aware of it. So then, if I want to go, like with the whole fire clean scandal.
Oh my goodness!
Like with that,
oh my goodness.
That was interesting. I went and like researched a bunch more about it, which I think that I may have heard about beforehand, but that was what I never even followed up on that. I haven't heard anything about it in a long time. Did that is that still kind of like a pending thing?
The case got dismissed, and I don't remember. I think there was a term for it. It was like some jurisdictional thing. So the guys that were being sued didn't have a business or live in Virginia where they were being sued. So they're like the case got dismissed that way. So I think FireClean is going to try to sue them a different way, something like that. That was a very, very galvanizing topic. People were either totally with FireClean or they were totally against them, and most people were totally against them.
Yeah,
I think they maybe made a bet.
Yeah,
by going after these guys, because I think they made it into a bigger deal than it ever would have been.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I just want to know if I need to stop using Crisco or not. But I just haven't. I think
you're cooking dinner. You pour a little bit on the gun, pour a little bit on the pan.
Yeah, it's great.
It's all purpose.
Well, ironically, I mean, it might work. I guess somewhat.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah, I guess the thing that makes a gun oil good or bad is, I guess, how what's the word? But how long it stays there.
Right.
It might not,
the longevity of it.
Yeah, it might not last very long, but it might work a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, man,
that was an interesting ride.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's been fun, man. I guess we probably bored people long enough.
Dude, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a good time. You and I don't get a chance to chat that often.
Yeah,
we're both pretty busy, and
yeah,
I enjoyed it, man. I definitely you let me know when you need me back, and I'll be here.
Yeah, for sure, man. I got this new setup now, so it's so much easier for me to do podcasts. I mean, so like every podcast I've done since I got this new setup, there's some kind of problem that happens,
Oh, man.
But it's never been anything catastrophic. It's just something that's like, oh, I wish that had been a little better. That hadn't happened.
Sure.
But it's like gradually I'm figuring things out, So once I get it, it'll be even better. But it's so nice. I don't have to edit it really. Just I hit record, I turn things on, and then bam, it's ready to go. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more of them, man. So I'll hit you up sometime.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I'd absolutely love it, man. And again, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for doing it. I'll keep checking out your show. All right, man. I'll see you.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
See you soon.
See ya.